Hello everyone. As you could tell from the last video, I was rather tired last time out because I was exhausted, so many days of working, and it sort of just took it out of me. As I say, it's another thing of being an amputee. You can't do everything all the time. You can't really do, well, I know I can't do like a 9-5 job because it just takes too much out of me. I can only do like a little bit at a time, so that's why I am doing this from home. Now, what I'm planning on doing, I didn't do anything yesterday, Sunday. As I say, it really took me out of it, and I decided to have basically a day in bed. That's how bad I was with my back, my stump pain, cramps, everything. As I say, I will be going in for surgery on the 10th of December to have a neuroma taken out of the back of my stump and a refashioning of the stump. So I am trying to get as much done here so it'll be easier for me to get around and everything. Unfortunately, the drag bike's not in the garage yet. Still haven't had time to do that. Fortunately, we've been really busy, and I'm going to need help with that. So I will be getting a friend to help me out with that, because I've got to take 2 bikes out to get the drag bike past them, to get them into the back of the garage, and I need to tidy the back of the garage to get it straight. Now, I'm in the garage tonight, and I'm hoping to do a little bit on the 14. Hoping to put the loom in. I'm hoping to strap it and get it in a position where when I do get the bearings and everything for it, which haven't come today. I didn't expect them to come today. I'm expecting at least at the earliest tomorrow to do the headstock bearings, swing arm bearings, and then I can get it into a rolling chassis. I'm also probably going to, if I get a chance, to prep the engine. While the engine's out, I'm going to change the spark plugs. Now, these 14s tend to run a non-sort of standard spark plug. They're not cheap. They're about £9 on the go. And they are CR9 EIXs, which are it's like a platinum, was it? Yeah, plug. An NGK plug, which have a very, very small electrode tip. And it seems to be what they use in these bikes as standard. My drag bike doesn't run that, partly because I'm running nitrous, and little small things like that could get hot spots on, and you could end up melting them and stuff like that, because nitrous, when it burns really, really hot. That's why also with the drag bike, I've gone to a slightly higher temperature, sorry, a colder temperature plug. Instead of a CR9, I'm using a CR10, which means it takes a lot more of the heat away from the electrode of the plug with I think it's with the ceramic core or something. I don't know too much about plugs, but I'm sure someone will know about that. Right, I'm going to turn the camera around and show you what I'm going to do next. I will probably do a bit and then I'll get back to you, and I will see you very soon. I am trying to use this on a selfie stick now, and also run it on like a little tripod thing, so hopefully things may be a bit steadier in theory. But as I say, this is a homemade video, one person, ideally could do with someone holding a camera, so that's why things can be a bit shaky. Alright, catch you in a bit. Hi again. Right, I've sort of secured the frame a little bit better. As you can see, I have them on axle stands with long bolt through, with a bit of padding, or a bit of tea towels and stuff for protecting the paintwork. At the front, use some jumbo clean things to just hold up the headstock a bit, but I have also left the straps on with a little bit of tension to make sure that if anything did move a bit, it's not going to move too far. You see, it's quite stable considering, so this will give me access to be able to bolt or look at anything that needs to go underneath the frame, which, to be honest with you, there's not a lot. But I may well put the engine mounts in situ, and the bolts, get all the right bolts together as we did before. And also I will be checking, there's up the top up there, let's see if we can get up there, at the very top, that small pipe behind the big one, there is a special type screw that goes in there, which has like a connection so you can put a pipe on. What that is the drain for the airbox, and it goes down to a little collector thing at the bottom. What it is when you put air filters in, you should oil them up to a certain degree. Sometimes you get a little bit of oil residue that collects in the airbox. You don't want to go into the throttle body so much, and it tends to collect up that area there and then bleed, filters down through the pipe to a little collector, and that collector you will see as a visual whether it needs emptying or not. That other pipe is a breather for the top of the crank casing of the engine. Obviously if you don't have a breather on an engine, the pressure will go somewhere, and you don't want it going and blowing any gaskets. So that is that breather there. On the inside you will see between the two ABS pipes that screw there. Now that is thread locked in with red thread locked. I'm not sure why it's red, but that's what was in it when I took it out. And that is that pipe you see that runs along there. That is the drain I'm on about. That drains anything out of the airbox down through the pipe to that little collector I'm on about. I can show you if I can. Yeah, I've got the collector here. I can show you what that looks like, and it fills up, and then periodically you need to empty it. Now that I presume is some way of draining anything that's too excessive that's in there that hasn't gone down the pipe. So you should be able to take that off, put another little adapter in I suppose, and drain anything that's out of there. And also you can use it as to blow through if it clogs up, which, you know, if you do get, for some reason you get leaves or bits of stuff go through your air filter and gets into your airbox, it may well block that up, so you may well need to do that. I've not known that yet, but it's there just in case. The little collector piece I was on about is here in my hand. That goes at the bottom of the pipe, if I can get it into focus. Yeah, and what it does, it collects any oil residue into the bottom of the big black pipe that goes down from that, what I was showing you before. And when that fills up, you basically take it off and then empty it and then re-put it back on. I have had one of my bikes, the H2, it's got something similar, and I do get a little bit of oil on that because I use a very high flowing filter, which is an MWR race filter. It's normally for only the race series on the H2. You have to make sure it's oiled because you don't want any sand or grit getting through, which I have heard of an R1 that has been running along road along the side of beach. It's only got so many thousand miles on the clock, and sand has got through the filter somehow, and it's got through into his engine and damaged his titanium valves, and unfortunately the head needs redoing all on that. I think my engine builder has actually been doing the head, and I may well be collecting that on Wednesday for the guy for it to be rebuilt. Unfortunately, Kawasaki, was it Kawasaki? Was that Kawasaki? No, Yamaha. Didn't check the filter on the first service. They say it wasn't needed, but obviously in certain conditions I would always check it, because I say this bike has only done about 1,000 miles or so, a couple of thousand miles, and normally the services between bikes, like I know the ZX10s and even H2s are like nearly every 10,000 miles. I would do it a lot sooner. Right, I'll catch up with you soon when I have done a bit more on this frame, and I will let you know what I've done and pretty much how I've had to do it. Okay, I'll catch you then shortly, instead of looking at this collector thing all the time. Catch you later. Hi again. Hi. It's quite a difficult job that was, and it's not quite fully complete yet. I still have, obviously I have electronic gear change, which is a pro shift system with ignition cut, and a throttle blipper, so there's quite a bit of wires to that. There's also a data tool alarm on it, which is obviously already wired into the loom, and there is also a couple of other devices. I've got like my autocom and all sorts of USB charging points and everything, so there's quite a bit in the loom. And as I say, I took it off in one with the under tray, so I had to sort of pull it all apart, take things off that I could take things off, and go through checking the loom and fitting it through the frame. There's a couple of pictures I've taken as I started feeding it through the frame, which will be at the end of this video, and also I am going to show you now pretty much how the loom and where the loom went, and we'll go from there. I've left it so I can still take the under tray off because I think I've decided to order a new one. It wasn't as dear as I thought it was, especially when you got people who deal a lot with Kawasaki and you get 20% off and that. So I decided to get a new thingy and use the other one for my drag bike. It will come in useful, and I will, when I get it off properly, I will well, plastic weld it properly, and that will be another video. I've got to practice on that first, never done it before. Well, said, tell a lie, I've fixed a rear stage hatch on an Audi with it plastic welded from the inside, and it holds quite well. So you've got to use the right plastic, obviously, ABS, polyprop, whatever. There's all sorts of different plastics anyway. Anyway, I'm going to show you this loom now, and we'll go from there. Hi. Right, you can see from here, there's the front half of the loom. Goes round and it goes through that spring. That's like I call it spring, but it's not. It's like a holding device. And through the top part of it here comes your clutch, hydraulic clutch pipe. Now you can see the rest of the pipe, the loom comes round. I've connected that part back up, which is it's a link. It's like a link lead for you have your plugged into the grey plug at the bottom there. You'll have your coils, and then you've got like a couple of sensors on there as well. Then we have here, let's say another part of the loom, a couple of wires here. They're for my electronic gear change. That one's for one of the power commanders. They tend to use these funny connector things so you don't break into the loom. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to disconnect them, and I'm going to solder them in and shrink wrap them with, I've got shrink wrap which has got glue in it, so glued type shrink wrap. As I say, there's another one there which is for the power commander again, and there's another one there where the wires come out, so I need to find where that is and reattach that to where the power commander side. It's probably on the power commander somewhere. It's probably had to come off for a reason. And that plug is one of the plugs you use for connecting the power commander up. Looks like there's a bit of dirt on there as well. And then you plug the power commander in, and then it goes back to the loom, that vice versa. There is another piece of loom that is on the throttle bodies. It goes underneath the engine and around the other side. Now the difficult part was, sorry for the shake again, all the loom had to go through there, as I was saying earlier. So I fed it from this way, using the front of the loom going through, you know, for the front of the bike, going that way rather than coming the other way, because there's a lot of bigger plugs coming the other way. And I took the bracket off there just to give me a bit more space, because I could put one plug through there and one through there and put it through. Here you see that bar. I can just about see if I can get into it for you. There's a bar there. This is one of the engine mount bars. You can see it moving on to the side there. Now, all the loom has to go over the top of that part, and then the rest of the loom came through underneath that bracket, brace for the under tray and for the frame, all the way up. Tricky to get underneath the rest of the subframe and up to where the ECUs and everything is. As I say, it took some time because it took some jiggery pokery to get all the other electronic gear change stuff off, so I could feed it all in the correct way. Hi again. I'm sweating now, as you can see. Putting the loom in is a bit more difficult than, well, it's not a quick job. Because you've got to try and get it all in, and because I've got, like, you know, power commander on it. I've even got an electronic push button side stand, which hasn't been put on yet, but I will show you that when I get to that, because it was the first bike I had when I lost my leg. So I decided I wasn't sure whether I'd be able to reach down for the side stand, would it be in the left side. So we had designed a push button side stand, so that there's some wiring to that. There's extra wiring for that. There's extra wiring from electronic gear change. And there's also one of those data 2 alarms on, which is already pre-wired in. I've got loads of other stuff. Right, I will show you what I've done, and tell you a few things, especially one thing I forgot to do, which you need to do before you put the under tray on. I'll show you that first, and then I will show you where the loom has been routed through, and how difficult it was, really, more than anything. So we'll go from there. I say I'm dripping, so I'm not going to be prepping the engine today. I'm hoping tomorrow Kawasaki will have sent me the headstock bearings and swing arm bearings, so I can get the front and rear end on, and then I can get it on its wheels on a paddock stand. Well, 2 paddock stands, probably front and rear paddock stand, which will be more sturdier than how I've got it now. But saying that, this has been rock solid at the moment, so I'll turn the camera around in a minute and I'll show you what I've been doing today. Right, I've turned the camera around now, and I'll show you what I should have fitted first before the under tray. There's a bar here that goes to a bolt on the rear side of here, which is an M10 bolt, and that goes right the way up. Nut and bolts in there, which I haven't put, nut bolt on there, which I haven't put in yet. Now, because I didn't put it on before the under tray, I had to try and loosen the under tray, obviously with all the loom fitted to it, and try and manipulate them in, which I managed to just about. The problem is with that is from the underside, the bolt, which you can see, if I can get to it there, is very difficult and very close to the under tray. So it's ideal to do it with the under tray off. As I say, with the wiring, I forgot to show you earlier, as I've done the wiring through here, that's the ABS pump, major big plug. Basically, that wire, that red clip will be up before you put it on. Push it on, and then push it down, and it draws it in. Very similar to ECUs on cars. They do a very similar thing. This fuse is a part of my electronic gear change and electronic side stand. I put it on the live wire for the solenoid, onto the solenoid, which is on the left side of the solenoid. On the right side of the solenoid from here will be the power going to the starter motor, which then it goes again through the frame underneath there to where the starter motor would be. I've put one of the caps on and show you with that sensor, which is I think it's an airbox pressure sensor, which is always on that left hand side. There's no way you can put it on wrong unless you turn that round upside down, but then your velocity stacks will probably not fit in, because the way that sits is the way obviously it sits. I've put the fuel line through, as you can see, the 2 grooves for the fuel line. I've put that through. You've got to make sure that it comes through and it faces that way. Now the fuel line is actually shaped for the bike. It's not like a normal pipe you would get and just Jubilee on. On the other side, you have to have it facing this way. If you have it facing the other way, it will not connect to the throttle bodies, as you will see later. Right, I'm going back up to the loom. I've fed, some of the loom comes through this way. Basically, that's to the wheel speed sensor, and then you've got one going down to the, here it is, brake switch sensor, which I left connected so I knew where it was more than anything. You also have this wire is a plug, that the other end of that plug goes to the stator on the engine, which I can show you on the engine here, which is that white plug there, which obviously goes round to the generator or stator, depending on how you want to call it. I used to call it stator because that's what we used to call it in old school, but because modern technology, they call it generator now. ECU is in there, underneath there. That top one is a relay box, various different relays for various different jobs. That's why you don't see many of the square block square relays anymore. Those seem to be in one control and one box. Underneath that one is the ECU. This is normally your toolbox compartment, where you have a like a plastic thing with all the toolkit in. I've utilised it to fit my autocom in, which is not wired in at the moment. So that will need to be wired in. I have a hardwired autocom system, which makes it a bit easier and clearer to hear when you've got a pillion on. You can also get, which I've got somewhere, what's the name? It's like a radio unit that plugs into that, and then you can do bike to bike on the autocom as well. It's got quite an old system now. I got it back in 2013, and now in 2018 there's everything's wireless pretty much now, and they're pretty much good on the wireless. You can see on the sensor there, that is a magnetic sensor for when the seat gets taken off, the alarm comes off, or goes off. Here's the other two wires. That the grey one is the one, well, I can't remember which one's which, but they both go to the regulator rectifier. One's input, one's output. I think the input would be the 3 wires, because the 3 wires come from your stator, and your stator is actually, or your generator is 3-phase, brings in 3 different voltages, and then the regulator regulates it and sends out a 2 voltage to charge your bike and to run any accessories and that, depending where you go. And so one fuse box clips in there. The other fuse box is there, which clips to the compartment for your toolkit. Once that's on, underneath there, I've got normal Allen keys in. Let's take this out. You'll see there's normal dome Allen heads underneath there. Normally there is anti-tamper bolts in there, and the anti-tamper bolts are so that you cannot get to the ECU by just unscrewing it. Obviously I've stripped this bike, so I have took them off, and for ease of use I've put normal ones back in. And the bike was running, was de-restricted, and it did have a few other things done on it. I still do have the oxygen sensor running on it, but I do have an O2 optimizer from the Power Commander system. I have put part of the front bit on for ready to go for the clocks and the headlamp unit, and at the moment I've just got the wires resting over the top from the other side of the loom. You can see the Power Commander there. I've sort of put it in line where it's going to go because it runs that side on this particular bike. Round to the other side. Oh, I've also here found the bracket that will hold your rear brake line on, which is 2 bolts behind the subframe there, 2 M6s, and a threaded, just a bolt that goes in there because it's threaded for the brake block to go in. I do have Hell braided lines on rather than the standard rubber lines, so the block there itself will probably look slightly different on a standard machine. I'm not sure what the difference is because it's been a while since I've done that. Try and go around to the other side without doing too much messing. As you can see, all the autocom stuff still hanging down at the back. As I say, the loom, so it comes through, as I was saying about the Power Commander, connects to one side of that, and then the other side goes back to the loom, which is the side where the throttle bodies are on, with the injectors and everything else. That was that wire I was telling you about where we had the broken, that it is there, where that goes into there. What I may do is I may extend that wire, and so I'll probably solder it in. Same with that yellow wire, yellow and black wire. It's household, looks like household cable I've used on that one, or someone else has used on it. No, someone else would have used it because I don't use those connectors. Looks like household wire, but as long as it's the right gauge, we're fine. And I'll solder that one as well. This goes up to where it was sitting just under the left hand cockpit panel, and then we have two other plugs here, which I think these, I'm not sure until I'll go to start routing the wiring. I think they either connect up to somewhere in the loom to take the power, or as I was saying before, the O2 optimizer may plug into there, and then we've got an earth for that as well. As I say, that's about it, pretty much it. Wiring's just pretty much just sitting there. As I say, I'm hoping that I will have the bearings tomorrow, and I will be putting headstock bearings in if I do, which you have to knock races in before you put the taper rolls in, and top and bottom. And also I will be doing the rear subframe, I was going to say, the swing arm, which they have needle roll bearings in most of them, and probably one big solid bearing, I think, on this side, because you'll probably see a ridge, yeah, where it sits up against. That will be the solid bearing. And then you have some people got a snap ring, but it's a circlip, big large circlip goes in there, so the bearing will not move out. As I say, how I realised there was a problem, I was thinking, well, why doesn't that bolt up to anywhere? Was it because I forgot to put them in? Because I tidily put them away in one of my toolboxes, and to keep them safe, I pretty much kept thinking, well, there's something missing here. But you know, it's been a year. My drag bike's not here, so I couldn't go and refer to that. I should know these inside out because I've had the drag bike to bits that many times. This is my electronic gear change. We have a serial port there which will connect to a laptop to change everything from ignition cut times to ramp up to throttle blip times and you can do it in every individual gear. You can change the cut time, the ramp up time, the delay, any preload on the solenoid, pretty much the works. On this particular system, we have 3 plugs on this side, which then link up to on the other side, and then on the other side we have the power, live thingy power, and that will be the up and down solenoid out power. You can see how thick the wires are because of its electric solenoid, and that wire is for the throttle blipper. It's the power source to the throttle blipper, and that will go to the throttle blipper, and on the throttle blipper itself will earth out to the chassis. And basically the control box will send how much it wants to. Basically what it tends to do is it tends to push throttle bodies just a little bit, so it's like you rolling your throttle on your hand. So that's pretty good and simple idea, but pretty good. I think that's pretty much it. I would say I've put that bracket back in, and on those, although bolts for those brackets tend to have a slight taper on them at the very end, so they'll guide into the hole. Now they're an M6 bolt, but they're an 8mm head. They're the only bolts on the bike that I know of that do have a taper on, so you can guide them in. I think it's because they're so fiddly to get to, and if you strip the thread down there, it's a big job to strip everything down to retap it. Now I wouldn't like to do that while everything was back together. Okay, so I'll turn the camera around and I'll just give you a quick thingy idea of what I might be doing tomorrow, and then I'll say ta-ra, and I will speak to you again shortly. Yeah, well, tomorrow ideally I will be putting the bearings in for the headstock, for the swing arm, mount it all up, put the front forks in, front wheel, rear wheel. Probably won't put any fenders or anything on just yet. Hopefully I might be able to get the brakes up and running. I've got some stuff coming from Pro Bolt. I tend to like my titanium stuff. I've started getting a few bits for it, but you know, titanium's so dear. How far I'll go is just depends what you see, I think, more than anything. And then I'll probably put the handlebars on. Well, actually I won't put the handlebars on because I had one bent handlebar, so I need to get the bars ordered. I haven't ordered them yet. I need to order some clips for the loom to be able to clip it into places on the under tray, which when you try and take the loom off, you always tend to break them. So I need to order some of them. They're like a plastic type grommet clip thing. As my sister says, she only understands it when I say thingy. She knows what a thingy is, but she doesn't know anything else. It all goes over her head. So I'll get them on and that, and then hopefully I will have some bolts coming from Pro Bolt as well. So some of the bolts that I've still got the rear subframe slightly loose because the bolts are actually bolted into the the front chassis, I am changing for black titanium, so they sort of are hidden away and they're not like jump out at you like at the moment the silver, as you'll see probably from the work I've been doing, that they are pretty much shiny, and I want them a bit more stealthy. The bike is going to be hopefully a bit of a stealthy thing, except for the blue on it. Wanted to ideally what I wanted was the blue, the royal blue, with a carbon film overlay. These rear subframe panels, I've got it on, but the guy who was doing it, unfortunately, was moving premises. He didn't get a chance to finish the frame. It was getting to a point where I needed the bike back together, so the frame's royal blue. Subframe's been done. I think the part of the top yokes have all that been done, but the tank that I wanted with the carbon, but I wanted the blue to stand out more than what it actually has done, is actually just going to be royal blue. So I might have to get that filmed at another date to try and key in with what I want, or it might look good, I don't know, we'll have to see. And I'm also thinking of, I would like to have some carbon fibre wheels for it, with an OBST doing with a blue tinge, green tinge, whatever you want. I don't think they're doing for the 14 as of yet. I think Dymag do them, but I think they're just carbon at the moment, so I'm keeping an eye out to see what's going on with them, because anything unsprung weight, which is anything below the shock absorbers, if you lighten that up, your handling transforms so much better. Most of you will probably know that. And also, if you want quicker steering, raise the rear ride height or lower the front end a little bit. But then when you do that, you put more weight over the front end, which then will possibly mean if you brake too hard, you could lose the front end, rather than this pretty bike's pretty much neutral. Or with the shock absorbers and stuff I'm putting on, I will be doing a bit of tweaking and see what's what, because I'm no lightweight. Even though I've lost 5 pounds in the last week, I'm still going to be no lightweight. So it's all been set up and rebuilt for my weight. Right, I better get off because I rabbit it on forever, and as I see, I'm dripping. I'm absolutely knackered. My back's killing me again. Hopefully I'll be fit enough to do some more tomorrow, and I will do another video for tomorrow. And keep smiling. Hopefully you'll tune in again, and we'll see how far this bike gets. Hopefully it's coming on quicker, a little bit quicker than what I was expecting. But the loom bit today has took a while. It's took a bit more than what I expected, the loom, because I expected I could prep the engine. I've just gone and got spark plugs for it and a few other bits and bobs that I need to fit to the engine before even getting the point of putting it in the frame. So okay, I'll sign off and I will see you soon. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe and share. Share to your heart's content, and hopefully I will have more information for you next time. And hopefully, see that Norton sign there. I'd love to have a Norton like that, but I am going, so maybe, who knows, in the future. Catch you again soon. Bye.